Welcome to Toxic from Reddit, where real toxic relationship stories come to life. Here you'll hear true stories from people who experience toxic relationships from different perspectives. Partners dealing with cheating, manipulation, gaslighting, red flags, and all the emotional chaos that comes with loving someone who hurts you. Stories of betrayal, of finding strength to leave, of discovering the truth, of heartbreak, of healing, and the raw reality of toxic love. This is a real story, shared anonymously on Reddit. Some details have been changed to protect the identity of the people involved. Hi everyone, my name is Daniel. I'm 38 years old and I live in San Diego, California, and I need to tell you about the most devastating betrayal I've ever experienced, which is that my wife of 9 years just admitted to me during an argument that she never actually loved me, that she only married me because I was financially stable and could provide her with a comfortable lifestyle. And now she's filing for divorce and demanding half of everything I own, including my business that I built from the ground up before I even met her. And I feel like my entire marriage was a lie. Like I've wasted almost a decade of my life with someone who was just using me, and I don't know how to process this or how to move forward. I'm going to tell you this entire story from the beginning because there's so much context and so many details that you need to understand about how I got to this point. My wife's name is Vanessa, she's 35 years old, and we met 10 years ago at a charity gala that I attended for work. At the time, I was 28 years old, and I had just started my own software development company, and the company was doing really well, like I had landed some major clients and I was making good money. I grew up in a middle-class family, my parents were both teachers, and they instilled in me a strong work ethic and the importance of education. I went to college on a partial scholarship. I studied computer science, and I worked multiple jobs to pay for school because I didn't want to graduate with a lot of debt. After college, I worked for a tech company for a few years, and I learned everything I could about the industry, and then I took the leap and started my own company. Starting my own business was incredibly risky and stressful. Like I invested all of my savings, I worked 80-hour weeks, I slept in my office some nights, and there were times when I didn't know if the company was going to make it, but I was passionate about what I was doing, and I was determined to succeed. And eventually the hard work paid off, and my company started to grow and become profitable. By the time I was 28, my company was doing really well. I had about 15 employees, and I was making more money than I ever thought I would make. I was proud of what I had accomplished, but I was also lonely. Like I had been so focused on building my business that I hadn't really dated much, and I didn't have a serious relationship. When I met Vanessa at that charity gala, I was immediately attracted to her. Like she was beautiful, she was charming, she was well-dressed, and she seemed sophisticated and cultured. Vanessa told me that she worked in marketing for a fashion company, and we talked for hours at the gala about our careers, our interests, and our goals. Vanessa seemed genuinely interested in me. Like she asked me questions about my business, about my life, about my family, and I felt like we had a real connection. We exchanged numbers and we started dating, and I was excited because I felt like I had finally met someone special. Someone who understood me, and who I could build a future with. In the beginning, our relationship was great. Like Vanessa was attentive and affectionate, she would surprise me with thoughtful gestures, she would cook dinner for me when I was working late, and she seemed supportive of my career. Vanessa would come to my office and bring me lunch, she would attend business events with me, and she seemed proud to be with me. Looking back now, I can see red flags that I ignored at the time, but when you're in love, you don't always see things clearly. One of the red flags was that Vanessa was very interested in my finances. Like she would ask me questions about how much money I was making, about my investments, about my assets, and at the time I thought she was just being interested in my life. But now I realized she was calculating my net worth. Another red flag was that Vanessa seemed to have expensive taste, like she loved designer clothes, luxury vacations, fancy restaurants, and she would often hint about things she wanted, and I would buy them for her because I wanted to make her happy and I could afford it. I didn't think much of it at the time because I enjoyed being able to spoil her, and I thought that's what you do when you love someone. Vanessa and I dated for about a year before I proposed, and during that time, I thought we were building a strong foundation for a marriage. Vanessa met my family, and they liked her. Although my mom did make a comment once that Vanessa seemed very focused on material things, but I dismissed it because I thought my mom was just being overprotective. When I proposed to Vanessa, I went all out. Like I took her to Paris, I rented a private boat on the Seine, I had a photographer capture the moment, and I gave her a beautiful diamond ring that cost more than most people's cars. Vanessa said yes, and she seemed thrilled. And I was so happy because I thought I had found my life partner. We got married a year later, and the wedding was elaborate and expensive. Like Vanessa wanted a destination wedding in the Caribbean. She wanted a designer dress. She wanted everything to be perfect, and I paid for all of it because I wanted Vanessa to have the wedding of her dreams. The wedding cost over $150,000, which seems insane now, but at the time, I thought it was worth it. After we got married, Vanessa quit her job in marketing, and she said that she wanted to focus on being a wife and managing our household. And I supported that decision because I was working long hours, and it would be helpful to have someone managing things at home. Vanessa said that she wanted to take care of me, that she wanted to make our home beautiful, and that she wanted to be there for me. For the first few years of our marriage, things seemed good on the surface. Like we had a beautiful home, we went on expensive vacations, we had a nice social life, and from the outside, it looked like we had the perfect marriage. But there were things that bothered me, things that I tried to ignore or rationalize because I didn't want to admit that there were problems. One thing that bothered me was that Vanessa was constantly spending money, like she would go shopping and come home with thousands of dollars worth of clothes and accessories. She would redecorate the house constantly, and she would plan expensive trips and events. I made good money, but Vanessa's spending was excessive, and when I tried to talk to her about it, she would get defensive and say that I was being cheap, that I made plenty of money, and that she deserved to enjoy the lifestyle that my success afforded us. Another thing that bothered me was that Vanessa didn't seem interested in my life or my work anymore. Like in the beginning of our relationship, she would ask me about my day and about my projects. But after we got married, she seemed disinterested, and she would change the subject whenever I tried to talk about work. It felt like Vanessa only cared about the money I was making, not about the work I was doing or the passion I had for my business. I also noticed that Vanessa wasn't very affectionate anymore. Like in the beginning of our relationship, we had a lot of physical intimacy, but after we got married, that decreased significantly, and Vanessa always had excuses for why she wasn't in the mood. I tried to talk to her about it, and she would say that she was tired or stressed, and I tried to be understanding, but it hurt because I felt rejected and unwanted. Another thing that bothered me was that Vanessa didn't seem interested in starting a family, like we had talked about having kids before we got married, and I thought we were on the same page. But after we got married, Vanessa kept putting it off, saying that she wasn't ready, that she wanted to enjoy our life together first, that she wanted to travel more. Years went by, and every time I brought up having kids, Vanessa would have a reason why it wasn't the right time. I started to feel like Vanessa was avoiding having children because she didn't want the responsibility, or because she didn't want her body to change, or because she didn't want anything to interfere with her lifestyle. This was really painful for me because I've always wanted to be a father, and I felt like Vanessa was stringing me along, making me think that we would eventually have kids, but never actually committing to it. About 3 years ago, my company went through a difficult period, like we lost a major client, and our revenue dropped significantly, and I had to make some tough decisions, including laying off some employees. It was one of the most stressful times of my life, and I was working around the clock trying to save my company and find new clients. During this time, I really needed Vanessa's support. I needed her to be understanding and encouraging, but instead, Vanessa seemed annoyed and frustrated that our lifestyle was being affected. She complained about having to cut back on shopping, about not being able to go on expensive vacations, and she made comments about how I needed to fix the situation and get the company back on track. I remember one night I came home exhausted and stressed, and I tried to talk to Vanessa about how worried I was about the business, and Vanessa said that she didn't want to hear about it, that it was depressing, and that I needed to figure it out. I was hurt and angry, and I said, "Vanessa, I'm your husband. I need your support." And Vanessa said that she supported me by managing the household and by being there for me, but that she couldn't handle the stress of my business problems. That was a turning point for me because I started to realize that Vanessa wasn't the partner I thought she was, that she was only interested in the benefits of being married to me, not in actually being there for me through the hard times. But I pushed those thoughts aside because I didn't want to admit that my marriage was failing, and I told myself that things would get better once the business recovered. I worked incredibly hard to turn the company around, and eventually I did. Like I landed some new clients, I restructured the business, and within about a year, the company was doing even better than before. Vanessa seemed relieved and happy that our lifestyle could go back to normal, and she went back to her excessive spending and her focus on material things. Over the past few years, I've felt increasingly disconnected from Vanessa, like we were living parallel lives in the same house. But we weren't really partners. We weren't really connected. I tried to talk to Vanessa about how I was feeling, about how I wanted us to be closer, about how I wanted us to work on our marriage. But Vanessa would dismiss my concerns and say that I was overthinking things, that our marriage was fine. I suggested couples counseling, and Vanessa refused. She said that we didn't need counseling, that counseling was for people who had serious problems, and that I just needed to relax and stop worrying so much. I felt frustrated and helpless, Like I was trying to save our marriage, but Vanessa wasn't willing to put in any effort. About 6 months ago, I started noticing that Vanessa was being secretive with her phone, like she would take it with her everywhere. She would turn the screen away from me when she was texting, and she would get defensive if I asked who she was talking to. This made me suspicious, and I started to wonder if Vanessa was having an affair. I didn't want to be the kind of husband who snoops on his wife, but the suspicion was eating away at me. And one day when Vanessa was in the shower, I looked at her phone, and I saw text messages between her and her friend Lisa, where Vanessa was complaining about me, saying that I was boring, that I worked too much, that she was tired of pretending to be happy in our marriage. I was shocked and hurt, but what really devastated me was a text where Vanessa said to Lisa that she was thinking about divorcing me, but that she wanted to wait until she could get the most money out of the divorce, and that she was consulting with a lawyer about her options. I felt like I had been punched in the gut, like my entire world was collapsing. I confronted Vanessa about the texts, and at first she tried to deny it. She said that I was invading her privacy, that I had no right to look at her phone, but I said, Vanessa, you're planning to divorce me? You're talking about how to get the most money out of me, and you're going to lecture me about privacy. Vanessa realized that she couldn't deny it, and she got defensive and said that she was just venting to her friend, that she wasn't actually planning to divorce me. But I didn't believe her, and I said, Vanessa, be honest with me, are you happy in this marriage? Do you even love me? And Vanessa hesitated, and in that hesitation, I saw the truth. I pushed her. I said, Vanessa, I need you to be honest with me. And Vanessa got angry and said, fine. You want the truth? The truth is that I'm not happy. I haven't been happy for a long time, and I don't know if I ever really loved you. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me, and I said, what do you mean you don't know if you ever really loved me? We've been married for 9 years, and Vanessa said that she cared about me, that she appreciated what I provided for her, but that she wasn't in love with me, that she had married me because I was stable and successful and could give her a good life. I was devastated. I said, so you married me for my money. And Vanessa said it wasn't just about the money, that she thought she could grow to love me, that she thought we could have a good life together, but that she realized she couldn't keep pretending. I asked her how long she had felt this way, and Vanessa said that she had doubts even before we got married, but that she thought marriage would make things better. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I said, Vanessa, you've been lying to me for our entire marriage? You've been pretending to love me while using me for my money? And Vanessa got defensive and said that she wasn't using me, that she had been a good wife, that she had managed our home and supported my career, and that she deserved to be compensated for the years she had invested in our marriage. I was furious. I said, compensated? You think you deserve to be compensated for being my wife? And Vanessa said that she had given up her career to support me, that she had sacrificed her own goals and ambitions, and that she was entitled to half of everything we had built together. I said, Vanessa, I built my company before I even met you. You didn't contribute anything to my business. And Vanessa said that it didn't matter, that we were married and that California is a community property state, which means she's entitled to half of everything acquired during the marriage. I was shocked that Vanessa had clearly been researching divorce law and planning this. And I realized that she had been preparing to leave me for a while, that she had been strategizing about how to get the most money out of the divorce. I felt betrayed and used and stupid for not seeing this coming. After that conversation, Vanessa moved into the guest bedroom, and we've been living in the same house but barely speaking to each other. A few weeks after our confrontation, Vanessa officially filed for divorce, and I received the papers from her lawyer. In the divorce filing, Vanessa is demanding half of the value of our home, half of my retirement accounts, half of my investment portfolio, and spousal support. But the thing that really infuriates me is that Vanessa is also claiming that she's entitled to a portion of my business, arguing that even though I started the company before we met, the increase in value during our marriage is community property. My lawyer says that Vanessa might have a case, that California law is very favorable to spouses in divorce, and that I might have to give Vanessa a significant portion of my business or buy her out. I'm devastated and angry, like I worked so hard to build my company. I sacrificed so much, and now Vanessa, who contributed nothing to the business, who was just spending the money I made, is going to take a portion of it. My lawyer has advised me to try to negotiate a settlement with Vanessa, to offer her a lump sum payment in exchange for her giving up any claim to my business, but Vanessa's lawyer is demanding an amount that I think is outrageous. I've been going through all of our financial records, and I'm realizing just how much money Vanessa spent during our marriage. Like she spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on clothes, jewelry, vacations, home decor, and other luxury items. I'm angry at myself for not setting boundaries, for not insisting on a budget, for just letting Vanessa spend whatever she wanted because I didn't want to deal with conflict. I've also been thinking about whether I should have had a prenuptial agreement, and I'm kicking myself for not insisting on one. Before we got married, my lawyer actually suggested that I get a prenup, especially because I had significant assets and a business. But Vanessa was offended by the suggestion. She said that asking for a prenup meant that I didn't trust her, that I was planning for the marriage to fail, and I backed down because I didn't want to start our marriage with conflict. Now I realize that Vanessa's reaction to the prenup suggestion was a red flag, that someone who truly loved me and wasn't interested in my money would have understood why a prenup made sense, especially given that I had built a business before we met. But I was naive and in love, and I thought that Vanessa's objection to a prenup was romantic, that it meant she was committed to our marriage. I've been talking to my family and friends about what's happening, and they've all been supportive, but I can also tell that some of them are thinking, "I told you so," because some of them had expressed concerns about Vanessa over the years. My mom in particular had said multiple times that she thought Vanessa was materialistic and that she was concerned about Vanessa's motivations. But I had always defended Vanessa and told my mom that she was being judgmental. Now, I wish I had listened to my mom. I wish I had paid attention to the red flags. I wish I had been more careful about who I married. I feel stupid and embarrassed. Like I was so focused on building my business and being successful that I didn't pay attention to what was happening in my personal life, and I let someone take advantage of me. I've been seeing a therapist to help me process everything that's happening, and my therapist has been helpful in helping me understand that I'm not stupid, that Vanessa was manipulative and deceptive, and that it's not my fault that I trusted someone who turned out to be untrustworthy. My therapist has also been helping me work through the anger and betrayal I feel, and helping me focus on moving forward rather than dwelling on the past. My therapist has explained that what Vanessa did is a form of financial abuse, that she married me under false pretenses, that she used me for financial gain, and that her behavior was exploitative and manipulative. Hearing my therapist validate my feelings has been helpful because I've been questioning myself, wondering if I'm overreacting, wondering if Vanessa is right that she deserves half of everything because we were married. But my therapist has been clear that while Vanessa may be legally entitled to certain assets under California law, that doesn't make her behavior ethical or moral, and that I have every right to be angry and hurt about what she did. My therapist has encouraged me to focus on protecting my assets and my business, and to not let guilt or sympathy for Vanessa cause me to agree to an unfair settlement. I've been working closely with my lawyer to develop a strategy for the divorce, and my lawyer has been very aggressive in challenging Vanessa's claims. My lawyer has argued that Vanessa's excessive spending during the marriage should be taken into account, that Vanessa should not be entitled to spousal support because she's capable of working, and that Vanessa's claim to a portion of my business should be limited because she made no contributions to the business. My lawyer has also suggested that we hire a forensic accountant to go through all of our financial records and document Vanessa's spending, to show the court that Vanessa was living a lavish lifestyle at my expense, and that she doesn't need spousal support. I've agreed to this, and the forensic accountant has been going through years of credit card statements, bank records, and receipts. The forensic accountant has found that Vanessa spent over $800,000 during our 9-year marriage on personal expenses like clothing, jewelry, spa treatments, vacations, and home decor. This doesn't include normal household expenses like groceries and utilities. This is purely discretionary spending on luxury items. My lawyer thinks that this information will be helpful in negotiating a settlement because it shows that Vanessa has already benefited significantly from our marriage. I've also been thinking about Vanessa's claim that she gave up her career to support me, and I've been going through old records to see what Vanessa was actually earning when we met. I found Vanessa's tax returns from the year before we got married, and she was making about $45,000 a year in her marketing job, which is a decent salary but not a high-paying career. Vanessa has been claiming that she gave up a promising career to be a wife, but the reality is that she was working an entry-level marketing job, and she quit because she didn't want to work, not because I asked her to quit, or because she was sacrificing some amazing career opportunity. This has made me even more angry, because Vanessa is trying to portray herself as a victim who sacrificed everything for me, when the reality is that she quit her job so she could spend my money full-time. I've been thinking about the future, and about what my life will look like after the divorce, and I'm trying to focus on the positive aspects. I'll be free from a marriage that was making me unhappy. I'll be free from someone who was using me, and I'll have the opportunity to find someone who actually loves me for who I am, not for what I can provide. I've also been thinking about dating again, and I'm honestly terrified, because this experience with Vanessa has made me very distrustful, and I'm worried that I won't be able to tell if someone is genuinely interested in me, or if they're just interested in my money. My therapist has said that this is a normal fear after what I've been through, but that with time and healing, I'll be able to trust again. My therapist has also suggested that in future relationships, I should be more cautious, that I should take my time getting to know someone before getting serious, that I should pay attention to red flags, and that I should definitely have a prenuptial agreement if I ever get married again. I've told my therapist that I don't know if I ever want to get married again, that this experience has soured me on marriage, but my therapist says that I shouldn't let one bad experience prevent me from finding love in the future. I've been thinking about my business and about how important it is to me, and I'm determined to protect it from Vanessa's claims. My business is my life's work. It's something I built from nothing, and I'm not going to let Vanessa take a piece of it just because she was married to me. My lawyer is confident that we can negotiate a settlement that protects my business, but it's going to cost me a lot of money. My lawyer has suggested that I offer Vanessa a lump sum payment of about $500,000 in exchange for her giving up any claim to my business, to my retirement accounts, and to spousal support. This is a huge amount of money, but my lawyer says that it's probably less than what I would have to pay if we went to trial and the judge ruled in Vanessa's favor. I'm struggling with whether to accept this settlement because part of me wants to fight this in court, to expose Vanessa for what she is, to make sure that she doesn't get away with using me. But my lawyer has warned me that going to trial is risky, that judges in California tend to be sympathetic to spouses who gave up careers to support their partners, and that I could end up paying even more if we go to trial. My lawyer has also pointed out that going to trial would be expensive, time-consuming, and emotionally draining, and that it would drag out the divorce for months or even years. My lawyer thinks that it's better to negotiate a settlement, to pay Vanessa off, and to move on with my life, rather than spending years fighting in court. I've been thinking about this advice, and I think my lawyer is probably right, that as much as I want to fight this, it's probably smarter to settle and move on. But it's so hard to accept because it feels like Vanessa is winning, like she's getting away with using me, and I'm just supposed to write her a check and let her walk away. I've been thinking about what I would say to Vanessa if I had the chance, and I think I would tell her that I feel sorry for her, that she's going to spend the rest of her life chasing money and material things, and that she's never going to find real happiness or real love because she doesn't know how to value people for who they are, rather than what they can provide. I would also tell Vanessa that she didn't break me, that I'm going to recover from this, that I'm going to rebuild my life, and that I'm going to find someone who actually loves me. And I would tell her that the money she's getting from the divorce is going to run out eventually, and when it does, she's going to realize that she wasted the best years of her life with someone who actually cared about her, and that she threw it all away for money. But I'm probably not going to say any of that to Vanessa, because I don't think she would understand, and I don't think she would care. Vanessa has shown me who she really is, and I need to accept that and move on, rather than trying to make her see the error of her ways or trying to get closure from someone who is incapable of giving it to me. I've been thinking about the lessons I've learned from this experience, and there are so many. I've learned that you can't trust someone just because they say they love you, that you need to pay attention to people's actions rather than their words. I've learned that it's important to protect yourself financially, even in a marriage, and that prenuptial agreements aren't unromantic. They're smart. I've learned that red flags are red flags for a reason, and that you shouldn't ignore them or rationalize them away just because you want the relationship to work. I've learned that it's important to have boundaries around money, even with a spouse, and that you shouldn't let someone spend recklessly just to avoid conflict. I've learned that it's important to listen to your family and friends when they express concerns about your relationship, because sometimes they can see things that you can't see when you're in love. And I've learned that not everyone who says they love you actually does, and that some people are very good at pretending to be something they're not. I've been thinking about my future, and about what I want my life to look like. And I know that I want to focus on my business, on my friendships, on my family, and on rebuilding my life. I want to travel. I want to pursue hobbies that I've neglected. I want to invest in myself and my own happiness, rather than trying to make someone else happy. I've been thinking about whether I'll ever be able to trust someone again, whether I'll ever be able to open my heart to someone after what Vanessa did to me, and I honestly don't know. Right now, I feel very guarded and very cynical about relationships, but my therapist says that with time and healing, those feelings will fade, and I'll be able to trust again. I've been thinking about the divorce process, and about how much longer it's going to take, and I just want it to be over. I want to finalize the settlement, sign the papers, and close this chapter of my life so I can move forward. Every day that the divorce drags on is another day that I'm tied to Vanessa, another day that I have to think about what she did to me, and I just want to be free. I've been thinking about what I'll do when the divorce is final, and I think I'm going to take a long vacation, somewhere far away, somewhere I've never been, and I'm going to use that time to reflect and heal and figure out who I am now that I'm no longer married to Vanessa. I think I need that time and space to process everything that's happened and to start fresh. I've been thinking about my business and about how I'm going to protect it in the future. And I've decided that I'm going to set up a trust and put my business assets in the trust so that if I ever get married again, those assets will be protected. I'm also going to be much more careful about keeping my personal and business finances separate so that there's no confusion about what is mine and what is community property. I've been thinking about the kind of person I want to be in a relationship with in the future. And I know that I want someone who has their own career, their own goals, their own passions, someone who doesn't need me to support them financially, someone who values me for who I am rather than what I can provide. I want someone who is independent and self-sufficient, someone who is with me because they want to be, not because they need to be. I've been thinking about Vanessa, and about whether she'll ever realize what she lost, whether she'll ever regret what she did, and I honestly don't think she will. I think Vanessa is so focused on money and material things that she doesn't understand the value of real love and real partnership, and I think she's going to spend the rest of her life chasing the next wealthy man, the next opportunity to secure her financial future. And that makes me sad. Not for me, but for Vanessa, because she's never going to experience real love, real connection, real intimacy, because she's too focused on what she can get from people rather than what she can give. But that's not my problem anymore. That's Vanessa's problem, and I need to focus on my own healing and my own future. Thank you for reading my story, and if you've been through something similar, if you've been married to someone who only wanted you for your money, if you've discovered that your spouse never really loved you, or if you've gone through a difficult divorce where your ex tried to take everything from you, I would love to hear how you dealt with it and where you are now. I'm still in the middle of this divorce, still trying to protect my assets and my business, still trying to process the betrayal and move forward, but I'm hopeful that on the other side of this, I'll be stronger and wiser and ready to build a better life.